Welcome back to Roy on Rescue. I just received an email from someone who had the opportunity just last evening to provide CPR, and it sounds like this individual was accompanied by two other individuals who happened to be just recently certified in CPR. There was some conflict between the two who were just recently certified and this individual rescuer as to who was doing CPR correctly. The two that were just most recently certified thought that the CPR should be provided by giving 30 compressions followed by 2 rescue breaths. The individual who emailed me was clearly trained more as a lay rescuer, or they could only remember the lay rescuer CPR compression only method. And their question was, did I do it wrongly? What if this individual did not survive because I forgot to do the 2 rescue breaths and the 30 compressions? And this individual sounds like they're really struggling right now with this concept that if this individual died as a result of me not doing CPR correctly and those other 2 rescuers were correct, it sounds like this individual is really going to have a hard time. Now, many people have written back to some of my posts about how to deal with non-surviving cardiac arrest patients when we try to help them with CPR. I don't want individuals to think that I say just what they want to hear. I started out in the medical field in emergency medicine back in 1987. So if that helps you to understand how long I've been around both combat medicine as well as privatized civilian medicine on the ambulance, it is what has shaped me in regards to how I train CPR. And one of the things that I knew that I needed to tell people when it came to what is my culpability when someone does not survive, what is my amount of guilt when I did something incorrectly or I didn't do it as well as I could have and the individual did not survive. I'm not telling people to not feel guilty because I just want you to feel good. I'm explaining that you should not feel guilt because there are so many different dynamics to a CPR rescue that rarely is anybody guilty for anything, even if they were to completely not be able to engage in that rescue. We don't know. Maybe the individual was having emotional problems. Maybe the individual rescuer was having what we call this psychosomatic shock. I see this oftentimes with family members who say, all I could do was call 911, but I froze. I didn't know, I didn't even know to call 911. If I just could have done something, maybe it would have been different. Listen, let's get right to the issue. This particular case where this individual feels as though there was a discrepancy on how CPR was supposed to be delivered, and they fear that because they went with the compression-only CPR, they may not have done the right thing. In 2010, the American Heart Association came out with a statement that hands-only CPR, compression-only CPR, for at least the first 6 minutes or until help arrives, by cases of studies with pigs, some dogs, and some human studies, with compression-only CPR with no rescue breathing, the survival rate was as good and in some cases better than when there was compressions mixed with rescue breathing. Now, don't let that confuse those of you who have been certified to give 30 compressions and 2 rescue breaths. Compression-only CPR is designed really for those individuals who do not have formal training. It is designed for those who are afraid to rescue due to an infectious disease potential because they don't have a mouth-to-mouth rescue barrier. It is designed for those people who want minimal contact or only feel comfortable with minimal contact in hopes that some form of artificial circulation of oxygen in a cardiac arrest patient will be performed as soon as possible after the arrest until professional emergency help arrives. So, the person who gave compression-only CPR did not do anything wrong, and those that were trained to give 30 compressions with 2 rescue breaths did not do anything wrong. And the very fact that 3 people around this individual who was in cardiac arrest cared enough to get involved, were brave enough to get involved, were confident enough to get involved, were leaders enough to get involved, is the success in this whole situation. It doesn't really matter if one individual got confused and thought that they were supposed to do compression-only CPR even though it was maybe a professional setting. It's still good CPR. And in the case of CPR not being done for a cardiac arrest patient, it's CPR. It's at least circulating oxygenation to the brain, the heart, and the kidneys, and other vital organs, compared to someone who doesn't do anything at all. Now keep in mind, like I just said before, and that's why I went into this before, if you are unable to do anything because of pure shock, pure fear, inability due to that psychogenic, psychosomatic shock that causes the freezing of an individual to not know what to do, to be too afraid to know what to do because it's your loved one, it's your child, it's your spouse, it's a neighbor, it's a parent, it's a grandparent. You are not guilty even if that happens, because every situation is different. That's why we hope that the neighbors are trained. That's why we hope that the visiting guests are trained. That's why we hope that people will vote for millages to be passed so that fire department staff is not cut, so that you have emergency responders who are either volunteer or paid, ideally paid, so that they're in the engine station where they're supposed to be when the 911 call comes in, so they can respond to any given address in their area in the first 2 minutes of an emergency, which is how it's designed in metropolitan areas, and for the most case, unless they undergo major tax cuts, which we've been seeing across the nation, both fire and police. Now, I'm not just ranting about this, but you know, those rescuers, those heroes, those firefighters, those EMS responders, those police officers are there because it is not the perfect situation to have a loved one having to work on a loved one when they're in crisis. In this case, it doesn't sound like it was a relative, but the concern is still there that they did CPR wrongly. Now, to set the standard straight, if you've been trained in CPR or CPR and first aid, 30 compressions to 2 rescue breaths is correct for the adult patient by the standard guidelines. The guidelines. I'm going to say it again. The guidelines, not the law, not the absolute. Those are suggested guidelines. 2 years ago, when 2 rescuers were involved and the person was intubated, and even now, we would do 15 compressions to 2 rescue breaths. Prior to 2005, we were doing 15 compressions to 2 rescue breaths when it was just 1 rescuer. The standards change because we're practicing different ways and methods to try to see which one works better. Nothing's a guarantee, and keep in mind, CPR is trying to buy time, not fix the problem. So whether or not this individual did compression-only CPR with no rescue breaths, ideally fast and deep, at least 100 times per minute or more, that's our hope. If not, okay, but at least you did something. If the other 2 did the 30 compressions to 2 rescue breaths, no problem. That's what the standard says to do. So in this scenario, both are correct. And God bless all of you for getting involved when the high percentage of individuals who are strangers, they don't get involved at all. Maybe they'll call 911. And I'm even talking about in a workplace setting. So the pure fact that all 3 of these individuals got involved in this rescue scenario is phenomenal. and you gave this patient the best chance at survival that they could have had, regardless of the outcome. That's what CPR and rescue is all about. I hope this helped. And until next time, keep on rescuing. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.